I'm Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. Just before this stream, I talked about the baby reindeer update. This stream is going to be strictly dedicated to the life and memory of Sonya Massey because she should still be here. If you know nothing about this case, so this is a picture of Sonya Massey. And I think this is an older picture, but she called 911 and she thought that she saw someone outside her house, or that's the general gist of this. She thought somebody was outside of her house. Two police officers arrived and they knock on her door. And on the video, you hear that they're kind of getting fresh because it takes her a while to answer the door. And she immediately lets them know, because I think it's kind of later at night. She lets them know that she had to throw on some clothes and they did not see anyone when they walked around, and the home looks a little it's I've seen, so I've walked into people's houses and seen much worse, but the home kind of looks a little disheveled. Things are kind of all over the place, and she's likely having a mental health episode. And the demeanor that they have with her, because once again, she's the one that called. She's the one that was concerned. And in my opinion, she in no way was aggressive or threatening towards the officers. Right before the officer who is now charged with first-degree murder, right before he does what he did, she is saying, "I'm sorry." Because while they were sitting talking, she realizes that she has a pot of boiling water. And so she's like, "Oh, I have the boiling water." And I've seen some other police officers break this down, that when you're working with somebody that has mental health concerns, or if you're concerned about your safety, you might say, "Hey, do you mind if I go turn that off?" Because maybe if you don't want that person to interact, to go over to the boiling hot water, but, like, they let her go over to the pot, and at some point, in my opinion, I think she possibly saw something, because she says, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." She says that 2 times, and I think she might have been having an auditory or visual hallucination. I come from an evangelical background where when people are experiencing psychosis, if we're not sure if it's psychosis or if it's spiritual, there are people that will sometimes try, if they're not sure if it's spiritual or mental health, they might rebuke the voice, like they're trying to get mental clarity and they're calling on their God asking for help. And I think that officer got offended by her. But in my opinion, he was in the wrong state of mind from the minute he got to the door. And the family has said that yes, she did have mental health struggles, but nothing that she did justifies what he did. And his indifference for her life, it is beyond me. And I'm tired of doing videos like this. I'm tired. This hurts. And it brings up racial trauma. And I'm gonna put I have resources down in the description. I've done other videos where I've talked about race, I've talked about bias, I've talked about all of these things. And the emotion that you're hearing is anytime a police officer drives by me, I sometimes clench up a little bit. And I'm not, so I drive about 5 over, maybe 10, I don't know. But I don't drive far enough to get, like, a ticket that I'm aware of. I've been pulled over a total of 4 times in my, like, adult, since I've been driving. The first time was so sweet. So when I was driving, I think I was like 19 or 20, I was driving to my dad's house, and anytime my if I didn't go 85, my car would shake. Something was wrong with my alignment or something, and I was driving to my dad's house, and so, there was a bit of a speed trap because there was one officer that I saw, but the second I slowed down for him, but I didn't see the second officer, and this was before Waze app, this was before all of those things, and so, and the officer, I think, felt sorry for me, and he was like, "Ma'am, like, something's wrong with your car and you're driving faster." He's like, "What's" I think he had a daughter. He was super sweet with me, but, before I even started driving, my mom sat me down to have the talk of anytime I interact with police officers, I have to be aware that they may see me as a threat and that it is my job to keep them calm, which isn't fair, but it's what we have to do. Most recently, another situation happened. My tags were expired, but I didn't know. I had an ADHD moment. I ordered new tags, and the tags were I forgot to put them on the car. So my tags were not like the ones on the car were expired, but I had ordered a new plate. I forgot to ask my husband to put it on the car. And but it was months. It was like 6 months overdue. The tags on the car were like way expired, and I didn't know. But when the officer pulled me over, he just said license and registration, and I didn't ask any questions because I know in that moment, I if I ask questions, if I appear difficult, if a person in any way thinks if I don't move, so I tell them because I often set it right on the seat beside me where they can see it. I keep my hands on the wheel. I do all of these things just to survive being pulled over by the police, and I think this is wrong. I think it's wrong. Hopefully, I don't lose my internet. I don't know if y'all could hear. We're having a bit of a storm. We're having a storm outside right now. So please know the emotion that I am speaking from. This is just situations like this hurt. This hurts, and, I wish that the officer had looked at her and seen somebody that might have been his sister, that might have been his aunt, that might have been somebody that he cared for, and that he would have acted differently. If he was that threatened, that he would have left because she wasn't in any way threatening herself. She wasn't in any way doing any of those things. And so, I'm just gonna check the chat. Thank you for the hugs. Thank you to all the love in the chat. Thank you to the person that asked me to cover it. My mom is in the chat. So Mama Johnny is in the chat. And Megan, I agree. That officer had zero compassion, and race might have had nothing to do with it. It's I don't know, and we may never know. He sounds like he has a history of just discipline issues and thinking he's above the law, and that's why and before he shot, he said, "If you don't stop," he said something to the effect of, "If you don't stop, I'm gonna shoot you in your face." And police officers are trained to, I think, go for the core. Military, shoot to kill. So military, because if you're at war and, but police often aim for the core. And the autopsy report, she passed due to a gunshot wound to the face. And the family has talked about the fact that the trajectory of the bullet is going up, which is she was ducking. So at like she was ducking, and that's what happened. Okay. Once again, I am not the video is way too triggering, and so that's why I am not going to play it. The last video that I saw of a police involved incident like this was Philando Castile, and the voice of his daughter, if I think too hard. So that video messed me up for a long time. And so I do not watch the video of the person actually of what happened. I have seen the before and the after. I just for my own mental health, I can't watch that part. Okay. And so let's take a look at this article because it talks about Sean Grayson is the 30-year-old sheriff's deputy who's been fired from the agency, and a union, so his local union has filed a grievance on his behalf because he was terminated so quickly, and that bothers me. And I have a link in the description of policing the police because I think stuff like that. But they're saying that there wasn't due process, that there should have been a certain number of days before he was terminated, and the city was like, "You're fired." Like, once they likely saw the body cam footage, he was 100% in the wrong. She was not threatening him at all, and it was first degree, premeditated, in my opinion. He's guilty and guilty. He's innocent until proven guilty. In my opinion, what I saw was a premeditated, because premeditation can be in that moment, because he said, "If you don't stop, this is what I'm gonna do." And he just doesn't get to say that. Gonna pause. Hey buddy, what's going on? Drill opened the door. Yes, he did. So give me until 6:45, okay? Maybe 6:30. We'll see. Okay?
Aw,
I know.
I wanted you to come down.
I know. So I'm still in a meeting, okay? All right. I'll see you later. Thank you. All right. So the family of Sonya Massey is calling for a probe into the hiring of sheriff's deputy charged with fatally unaliving a 36-year-old Black woman in her Illinois home this month, citing their concerns over records showing he'd worked at 6 law enforcement agencies in 4 years and was charged with driving under the influence twice. I need you to head out. What's up?
But I need to tell you something.
Go ahead.
So when I was in this Pokemon battle, what?
Go ahead.
So I had 7.
He doesn't care about YouTube at all.
And so
You had
Dad
7
had
Pokemon?
And guess what?
What happened?
So Drill won.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
Drill is well trained. He's level 150, and guess what?
What?
Now he's level.
Do you want to say hi to Gigi? No.
I mean, he is level 1,050, and guess what?
What?
So he got to 100,000.
Whoa, 100,000? Oh my gosh. Can we pause this and restart it at 6:45? Okay? Yeah. Okay. I love you. 150,000, Christina, not level 150. So wow. I do not look forward to having to have the conversation with my son, and I hope things are better. So that's why I hope that laws change where um, there's better communication. They tried to pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, and in the bill, it lowers the criminal intent standard from willful to knowing or reckless to convict a law enforcement officer for misconduct in a federal prosecution. It limits qualified immunity as a defense to liability in a private civil action against the law enforcement officer, and grants administrative subpoena power to the Department of Justice in pattern or practice investigations. So I guess right now the DOJ doesn't have subpoena power in pattern or practice investigations. It establishes a framework to prevent and remedy racial profiling by law enforcement at state, federal, and local levels. It also limits the unnecessary use of force and restricts the use of no-knock warrants, chokeholds, and um, carotid holds. There we go. Carotid holds. Um, the bill creates a national registry the National Police Misconduct Registry to compile data on complaints and records of police misconduct. This is what we need. We actively need a national police misconduct registry where somebody that is having issues, they can't just move offices and go somewhere else. Finally, it directs the DOJ to create uniform accreditation standards for law enforcement agencies and requires law enforcement officers to complete training on racial profiling, implicit bias, and the duty to intervene when another officer uses excessive force. And I think that duty to intervene for another officer, because sometimes people can support one another, or I think it's blue blacks blue. I think that's what it's called, something like that. And so I think there has to be more checks and balances with this. All right. So, um, he was indicted by a grand jury last week on 3 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of aggravated battery with a firearm and official misconduct in connection with the July 6th, shooting near her home. And while they're in her home, you can hear fireworks going off in the back. Like, it sounds like people were probably still celebrating 4th of July or something. And he has entered a not guilty plea and was denied pretrial release, according to court records. CNN tried to get comment from his attorney. Massey is one of a number of Black women who have been unalived by police in their own homes in recent years, including Breonna Taylor, and I don't want to say it wrong, but Miss Jefferson. In a news conference Monday afternoon, civil rights attorney, and some people don't like Ben Crump. I think it was on Bruce Rivers. Didn't I think he wasn't a fan of him. I know nothing about him, but yes. And I am gonna play some information from, the family just to talk more about who she was. Alright. I have information about um, her autopsy down in the description for anyone that wants to look further into that, but this is what, happened. Deputies entered Miss Massey's home to gather further information and ensure the residence was safe. At no time was Miss Massey under arrest. Defendant noticed a pot on the stove and approved Miss Massey removing the pot to prevent any accidental fires. The pot was located in another room, but it was like it was like an open concept. So, like, the sitting area was directly in front of the, like, kitchen. So, because she just walked up and just went. Like, it was an open concept. Alright. Alright. Separated by a large counter. During this time, the other deputy was clearing the house and nothing dangerous was noted. Defendant then made a comment about the pot, which apparently contained heated water. Miss Massey responded verbally and set the pot of water down on the counter in the kitchen. During this time, defendant was still in the living room of area of the home, and I think that's very important. He wasn't close to her, like, he was on the whole like, even if she did kinda, like, toss the hot water in his direction, there's no way that it would have caused, like, like, he was far from her. Have you ever tried to lift a pot and, like, that's a hard thing to do. Alright. The pot, which apparently contain okay, that's where I already got that part. Alright. Despite his distance and relative cover despite his distance and relative cover, defendant drew his 9 millimeter not less than oh, and not the less lethal taser located in his deputy vest and threatened to shoot Miss Massey in the face. Seeing the drawn weapon, Miss Massey put her hands in the air and stated, "I'm sorry," while ducking for cover behind the counter that separated her and the defendant. Defendant, with his firearm still drawn, proceeded to close the significant so he approached her. If you're that afraid, leave, retreat, like, leave. Don't go towards her. Defendant, with his firearm still drawn, proceeded to close a significant gap between him and Miss Massey. Defendant then aggressively yelled at Miss Massey to put the pot down, which she wasn't even holding the pot. And even like defendant then fired his duty weapon 3 times in the direction of Miss Massey, striking her in the face 1 time. Only at this time did defendant activate, his body-worn camera. Whoa. I wasn't aware of that. So his camera wasn't on before. Please note the body-worn camera of the other deputy was activated when he first arrived at the scene and remained on during the entirety of events. After this, the other deputy announced he was going to retrieve the medical kit from his vehicle, to which the defendant instructed him not to because of the severity of the injury. He pretty much nonchalantly was like he the mm, he was just like, "Why?" Like he was just like, "Why would you even go and get that?" Like that's the attitude that he had, which was mm, okay. Um The other deputy still rendered aid and stayed with Miss Massey until medical help arrived. Defendant at no time attempted to render aid to Miss Massey. An independent investigation of defendant's actions was performed by the Illinois State Police. An expert in the field of use of force reviewed the recording made by the body-worn camera of both deputies. Please see People's Exhibit B. The expert concluded the defendant was not justified in his use of deadly force. He likened the scenario to an officer intentionally and unnecessarily putting himself in front of a moving vehicle and then justifying the use of force because of fear of being struck. Like, move out the way. Move, move out the way. Defendant's disregard of his training as law enforcement officer and his disregard for human life shows by clear and convincing evidence that he is a danger to persons in the community. He has ample access to firearms and has shown a willingness to use lethal force despite the availability of non lethal alternatives when there is little to no threat to his bodily safety. Wow. Exactly. Wow. All right. So let's get to a recording. Okay. So this is Officer Sean Grayson, and so this was 20 months before the incident with Sonya Massey. Okay. So this is an audio recording from I think it's with one of his superiors. Right. I'm turning closed captioning on.
7 months on. How are you still employed by us?
Sure. 7 months on, how are you still employed by us? The meeting with your superior is not going well when things like that are said. And I think there are likely traits of an antisocial nature. Yes. So that would be antisocial personality disorder. And I don't know this for sure, so I'm just saying in general, uh, actions like this can point towards and just I don't care. I don't care. And so, all right. 7 months, how are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
Sean, do you understand what I am saying?
Yes, I do, sir.
And I've had this conversation with you before. If we can't trust what you say and what you see,
If we can't trust what you say and what you see,
we can't have you in our uniform.
we cannot have you in our uniform. So why should he be in any uniform? Not just Logan County. Like if he shouldn't be in anyone's uniform if he's lying. So, what instigated this is he was in pursuit of somebody for like a traffic violation or something. And he was told to stop the pursuit because he was going up to speeds over 100 miles per hour. It was just a minor traffic violation, and he said he had stopped, and he hadn't. He was continuing to pursue, and he ended up hitting a deer. Like, that's how he ended up hitting a deer, and his body worn camera was on, and that's how they knew that he had lied. That's based on this here.
I'm calling you on your integrity.
I'm calling you on your integrity. And I think police officers, doctors, lawyers, you have to have integrity.
How
Teachers,
does that make you feel?
I'm learning from it.
no, you're not. I don't believe that. I'm learning from it. I think he knew what to say. I don't think he was learning from it. That's just my own personal opinion.
Are you angry with me for it?
I don't.
Do you understand?
And I don't think he was likely angry. I think so when somebody gets caught, and if there's emotion, and if they do meet criteria for something like antisocial personality disorder, if they're upset, it's often because they got caught. It's not necessarily because they feel bad for what they did. There is a lack of empathy, complete lack of empathy.
It?
Yes. I, I don't get angry with this because, one, I have no experience.
He's now justifying his behavior.
Before I came here, I had no experience. Two, I wasn't allowed to do this right here. I was not allowed to review my videos.
This is termination.
It's not funny, but he's like, you're not getting another chance. I'm firing you, dude. You
I'm
lied.
getting goosebumps. This is extremely concerning. Everybody likes you. I got to be able to trust you.
I gotta be able to trust you. And if you can't be, I don't think you should be on anybody's police force if you can't be trusted. You just shouldn't.
Was this a purposefully done lie?
No. I full-heartedly, I still believed I was on North Madison until you just pulled up Google Maps and showed me in the daytime.
This is going to get deeper because you're going to have a hard time answering some questions here real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so the full report was the full tapes were not released. There was another video where he it's my understanding that he ended up quitting this job instead of getting terminated. He submitted his resignation instead of being terminated. And so this is just I have the clip down below. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and watch this part.
He had a series of red flags, warning signs that did not stop him from getting hired by 6 Illinois agencies in 4 years. This is the moment Grayson hit a deer while working at the Logan County Sheriff's Office.
Well, my car's out of service. Airbags deployed.
It happened when he failed to slow down despite his boss calling off a vehicle pursuit. He was driving around 110 miles an hour.
It's a dumb mistake.
Disciplinary paperwork and recordings obtained by the I-Team
Official misconduct will land you in jail.
reveal Grayson had a pattern of problems, from inaccurate reports
I'm calling you on your integrity.
to simply not following directions.
It will get you sued, and it will get you out of your business of law enforcement very quickly in today's world.
I hate that he said in today's world because it's like because there's more scrutiny, but he's kind of but like it's almost like you could have got away with this 30 years ago, but you can't get away with this stuff now. Mm.
Earlier bosses had expressed concerns Grayson was too aggressive and a bragger. Yet he stayed on the job.
How are you still employed by us?
I don't know.
Grayson finally submitted this letter of resignation from the Logan County Sheriff's Office. A month later, he joined the Sangamon County Sheriff's Office, and about 1 year later, he was
All right, I'm going to make sure that they didn't play the
charged
video.
in the shooting death of Sonya Massey. We also know that Grayson was kicked out of the Army for his first of 2 drunken driving convictions. The I-Team is fighting for answers about what's being done to prevent officers with warning signs from slipping through the cracks.
And I don't wanna blame the boss, so I don't know, but the boss did say, "In today's world, you're not gonna get away with this." Like, that's what I don't know. He coulda just I don't know, but it was habitual, it was an ongoing problem, and it's different if somebody has a history of maybe 1 DUI and they do get some treatment, they are sober, I don't know, but, like, it's very, very problematic. I am So, Megan, what this can bring up is that people have to hope that if something goes wrong, that it's recorded because they're not sure that the truth will be told. Because on another body cam video, because an officer asked him, "Where's her weapon? Like, where's her weapon?" And he says, "She tried to throw boiling water on me." And that's not true. She never tried to throw the water on him. And to me, she wasn't disrespectful. She wasn't rude. She wasn't argumentative. She wasn't like acting aggressively. She wasn't doing, and not that that would justify, but, like, this was a clear situation where she should still be here. Absolutely should still be here. Yes. Ah. Ooh, okay, so Denny Dawn, because you watched it. So I mentioned earlier, watching the full video triggers stuff for me, so I didn't watch the full one. I watched before, I watched the after. And then this is true, Lisa. They told the parents that it was self-inflicted, and it was not. So that's what the parents are alleging. That they were told that she unalived herself, and that's not true at all. And so thankful that there was that video because yeah, we would just never know. All right. So, um, let's get the emotions ready. This is gonna be a video with Sonya's son and her mom talking about their thoughts on things. All right. And so I want to make sure to give them a voice here. And so this is a video. I have the full link down in the description, and we will go from there. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. Play.
Know her.
She was very,
I'm going to take it
Who
back to the
was
beginning.
Sonya Massey for people who don't know her?
she was very smart, and she's always helping everybody but herself. She really was a homebody and a good mom.
Malachi, what was your mom like?
She was just a ball of love, honestly, to me. She cooked me the best food. I love her food. She was just a ball of energy, like a ball of energy. She could talk to anybody, you know. She's just the most loving person ever.
Does it feel like she's gone?
No, this is feeling surreal to me right now. She had lupus and stuff like that, so I would never think she would pass from like anything like this. I would think it was from that, but she would always tell me that if she did pass, just be strong. That's all I could do for her.
It's not
And what he's describing is that denial, but traumatic grief is its own bear. Like, it's not even the normal grief process. Traumatic grief, a loss like this, it is unimaginable, unbelievable, and, like, it can really just, and I'm glad that he's remembering what she would have wanted for him. She's remembering the he's remembering a lot of the positive, and then also grieving the fact that she should still be here.
not real. This can't be real. I don't know how this could be real. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for your loss, too. And how
And I wish reporters didn't say stuff like that. So this is just my own thoughts. I work a lot with grief, especially traumatic grief, and um, I might have said something like, "I wish she was still here. I can't imagine how you feel. I can't imagine how painful this is." That's what I might have said. I personally don't say, "I'm sorry for your loss." I feel that that is it can be I don't because it's talking about my pain, and right now I just wanna focus on hers, and the way that she's feeling, she has no need to apologize. Her daughter was unjustly unalived because she called the police. And there are communities of people that have fear, like things that they'll be victims of crimes and they won't call because they're afraid. And I don't think we should live in a country in a world where you're afraid of the people that are supposed to be there to help you. The same way I also feel that like teachers shouldn't abuse their power and they shouldn't engage in like inappropriate behaviors. I don't think doctors and, professionals, I don't think they should do that. And then the same way, I think we have to hold police officers to another standard. And this is a small percentage. So I've the four interactions I've had, like I said, I was mentioning earlier, those times that I had been pulled over, um nothing bad. It was always fine. I will tell you, I was followed. I was in a very rural area. It was one of those. mm, I didn't feel comfortable driving around this area late at night. It was during the day, and an officer was following me, and it was weird. And I know he was following me because I pulled into a gas station. I went in to use the bathroom and I came out to leave and he was like waiting for and he like pulled out after me. It was very weird. I got to where I was going safely. If you do have an iPhone, you can say hey and then say SIRI. I'm being pulled over and it'll automatically start recording. It's sad that people have to do those kinds of things, but it is something that people have to think about.
How did you find out that a deputy had shot your mother?
I found out from my cousin telling me.
What do you want to see done now?
I want him to get for full term, the highest amount of years he can get until death.
Do you think Sonya would still be alive if she had not been Black?
Yeah, he would have definitely been more cautious. He wouldn't have did that, I don't think.
No, he wouldn't have did it at all.
We're going to get justice for sure. I know. We are for sure. I'm positive.
And they're going about justice. So I also don't like the fact that when an officer does something like this, the city is often sued. And the city, so the taxpayers are often the ones that have to pay this, but it doesn't come out of the police departments. Like it doesn't come I don't know that it ends up I don't know. So from my knowledge, I would like it to have like a direct so that there's less like where like, hey, if an officer sees somebody else that's about to do something, it's like, hey, you're not about to mess up my pension. You're not about to mess up like my situation. That people would speak up in situations like that. Mm.
Positive.
Oh, no. So they're not going to actually show it. They're just going to show. So this is a picture of her house. This is how far apart they were. Um and so I just wanted to skip past that
A
part.
little bit of the video.
Mhm.
You had to stop.
Yeah, I can't finish it. Like,
And I completely respect him. So I don't even know Sonya and watching it would make it could trigger trauma for me. Her family, it's completely okay if anybody decides, "I just can't see it," or if anybody does see it and then they need to seek their own professional help. There are often victim funds that will fund therapy, that will reimburse for services, for victims of violent crimes.
cause my mom, like, she was too nice. Like, it's no way. Nothing like that should have happened.
Donna, you watched it.
No, I
You
can't.
don't even.
I can't.
You'd mentioned that Sonya was sick, so she had lupus, you said.
She was on the last stage of kidney disease.
And mentally, was she okay as far as you know?
Yeah, she was up until the last few days before that. She started saying, I'm gonna die. She started
like she
getting
knew.
paranoid.
Was Sonya ever diagnosed with anything?
A few days before, they said that she was paranoid because something happened.
I don't know what set her off.
Okay. And that's where if something happened recently, so if she had like a trauma or something that happened recently, that's where I would want to rule out was their PTSD because schizophrenia, so like a paranoid schizophrenia is typically going to be diagnosed after symptoms have been present for 6 months or more. It's going to be over a period of time. It wouldn't be something that just recently happened. So I would just make sure, I don't know, like sometimes people can have trauma and then have some um paranoid, like they're hearing things, they're seeing things, but it's a trauma response and it's not schizophrenia. But and then sometimes things can trigger a life stressor, something can happen that triggers but the symptoms would be present. So if it was something like a paranoid schizophrenia, the symptoms would be present over a longer period of time. Deacon Fatal, uh she never made it to the hospital. What happened at the hospital? She wasn't at the hospital. She was at home. So she was at home. She called the police and because she thought somebody was outside. And when they got there, she was kind, she was nice. And oh wow, LH, you mentioned that possibly the final stages of kidney disease can cause psychosis. So I would want to rule out a medical reason because sometimes medical can mimic mental health conditions. So I like to rule those things out before giving a diagnosis like schizophrenia. Oh wow, Maddie, you mentioned lupus can affect the brain, including cognitive function. But once again, she in no way was acting aggressive. She in no way was being harmful towards the officers. If she was feeling paranoid in that moment, she had every reason to be. She was the one who was at risk. She was the one who was a threat. The demeanor of the officers to me seemed to be a little like they were just rushing through, frustrated, like, "Ugh, not again." And yeah, I know people can I just that's just too much. And so thank you to the individual that did ask for me to cover this one. I knew it would be difficult to cover without my own emotions kind of coming into it because this does bring up issues similar to what the family said, where in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, did the officer think that he could get away with this because he might have assumed, and I don't know what type of money she had. Oh, okay. So I haven't seen this part that she might have been diagnosed at a hospital. So I'm seeing in the comments that she might have been diagnosed with something at the hospital. Because after all of this, the officer asks about a mental health code. Like had there ever been a mental health response to the house? And this officer Sean had just done a mental health recertification where officers are trained how to de escalate individuals who are escalated. I used to do intensive in home counseling, and there were times when a client, unbeknownst to me, they might have had some type of weapon. And in session, we would figure out how to de-escalate things, how to make sure that we were able to get the situation resolved. And often it would involve them having to be transported to the hospital for an evaluation, stabilization, safety planning, all of those things. There were other times, especially when I was working with communities of color, where if the police needed to be called, I always got permission. And what I mean by that is I might have been like, "Ooh, like I don't," but I always just made sure to check in because it could completely break my rapport with the family if I called and they weren't on board with that. And I've never had an issue where I needed to call and a family asked me not to. Just that act of asking because they're like, yeah, we can't manage this, or yes, we need some extra help. And on the phone, I would often let the officers know that we had a mental health crisis happening in city of Fredericksburg, they have a mental health team that accompanies officers. So it's a unarmed mental health worker that accompanies the police officer to help as just to help consult on high risk situations. Because often, if somebody is feeling like harming themselves or if somebody does have a mental health crisis, often the officers are the first to respond. And that county, if it is a mental health call or if there's a question on if mental health might be involved, they have a mental health person um, uh, along too. Okay, so declared, not diagnosed. So I'm not sure. I don't. So the hospital declared, I don't. So I only know diagnosed. So sometimes they give provisional diagnoses, or sometimes so, but I don't know what declared. I don't know, and it could be an Illinois thing that I'm not aware of. Um, I'm glad, Megan. Thank you to everybody that's here. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Barry. I'm a psychologist in Virginia. I cover court and legal things from a psychological perspective. Elsa. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Hopefully, I'm saying it correctly. Dr. B, when she first opened the door, Sonya kept saying, I don't know what to do. Please don't hurt me. And that goes to the fear that in communities of color that people can have sometimes of officers. And in this situation, that was not paranoia. It wasn't paranoia. She might have struggled with opening the door for them because she might have been concerned. And it did seem like she was having a mental health moment. So how do you know if it's a mental health call? So there's a code. So the officer asked, so mental health police code. I'll look it up. Mental health police code, Illinois. It's like a 5150 maybe. I don't know. But there's some code. So there's some like because they say, is this a 51? But I don't know exactly what the number is, but they ask if it's a specific thing. I saw that over on Bruce Rivers. So if you see Bruce Rivers' coverage of this, oh, declared deceased. Okay. Thank you. I got it. So I do understand that part. Oh, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you want more content like just like this. If not, no worries. Thank you. Thank you for adding this. 1096. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for adding this because that's one of the officers asked, has there ever been a 1096 to the house? And yes, because so this was the code that was used. The 1096. We definitely send lots of prayers. I don't know if the other officer did anything wrong. So the other officer rendered aid. The other officer now if the other officer lied or something for him, now that'll be like his disciplinary. So I don't know. The other officer, they might use his testimony against. So I don't know if I don't know. He has not been arrested. His name, I don't believe, has been, and I'm not gonna like dox anyone or anything. So to my knowledge, that other officer was not arrested. The Sean was charged with first degree murder. All right. Hey, Mama Jamma. I'll see you when you catch up on replay. All right. Oh, 5150 is the code in California. Cool. Yes. So when I Googled 5150 is the one that came out. The one you shared earlier was the correct code. Ooh, Lisa, you always know. The other officer held his gun on her when the other one started. Yeah. And I think that's just training, but yeah. So Lisa has very strong, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. All right. Um So Deacon Fatal, it's my understanding he did say that she came at him with the water, and that's not true. That's so what I'm saying, Sean, the one who's charged, he said that she came at him with the water. And the family has said that they weren't told that she was shot and killed by the officer. So they found out from, I think, a neighbor. I don't know. They found out from somebody else. That's my understanding of what's been said. Okay. And um and I don't know if they're investigating the other officer. I don't know if he might be on desk duty. I don't know. And if he lied on his report as well, there will likely be disciplinary action, but I don't know. All right. So once again, thank y'all for being here. Next Tuesday is my birthday. So I'm going to do a birthday stream next Tuesday. Super excited for that. Today I did 2 videos. If you like Baby Reindeer, right before this video, I recorded one giving an update because Richard Gadd released all the tea on his past with Fiona Harvey. And so I covered that in this last video. My son's birthday is this week. And so we will be celebrating him on Saturday, and I'm going to skip. So no streaming on his birthday, but I get to stream on mine. so, so his birthday is this week, and then my birthday is next Tuesday. So I will stream. I will be 42, and we'll talk about something. The verdict in the Ashley Benefield case might be back by then. The judge I saw, because right before I went live, the jury wanted to know about the family therapist. Because the family therapist, when they were recalled by the defense, they asked, the family therapist said that their impression of the husband, Doug, was that he was controlling and he gave some opinions. And the jury wanted to know if that opinion was based on Ashley or was that based on his interaction with Doug. And that was just interesting that the jury wanted to see that. And so um we will see what happens with that case. I'm thinking the jury will probably be back maybe in the next few days. They have a lot to work through. There are multiple charges. They can go with second degree, they can go with manslaughter, they can go with not guilty, and we will see what happens. And so, once again, thank y'all for joining me. I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.